in our consciousness and actually change our whole perceptions of thought based on our relationships to the universe. And the geometric structure that our consciousness is made up of is composed of these 5 geometric structures. This is called the 5 platonic solids. And the term platonic means that there is one relationship. So there is one relationship between those 5 structures that make up the basic construct of our consciousness that is related to all aspects of who we are within the material plane of existence. What takes place within these 5 structures, it originates from our atomic self, which is the building block of all living organic matter. The atom is the building block of all living organic matter. And the atom has the intelligence to transcend itself, or transcend its intelligence, where the atom moves from the consciousness of the atom into a molecule. Once atoms transform themselves into molecules, they take on an even greater knowledge of itself. The next phase of that intelligence that the atom originated itself from is the cell, because the cell is an even greater knowledge of the molecule and the atom. The cell is, I would say, magnified and duplicates upon itself to create what is our tissue, and the tissue is what brings about our organs. And our organs is what bring about the organ system. And within the organ system, we can, through thought amplification, expand the scope of our consciousness to pick up the intelligence of the multitude of galaxies. So now I'm going to show you exactly what I mean within the constructs of the atom. Because if knowledge itself is the greatest knowledge of all, then the basic construct of all knowledge within the material realm is the atom. Now here we have what is an atom. The atom is made up of 3 components. And within those 3 components is what structured life, whether it be an amoeba or a galaxy. The atom consists of what is a proton, a neutron, and an electron. The electron serves as a biorhythmic harmonic. And within that harmonic, it will duplicate itself and create a relationship, an even greater relationship with itself, which brings us into the whole scope of our whole organism. Because that's what happens with the atom. An atom moves from just being an atom, then it, within the knowledge of itself, creates another atom, and then with knowledge of itself again, it keeps reverberating or recapitulating throughout the cosmos. And if you look at the atom, when the proton, neutron, and electron are active, you see that the atom creates a geometric structure. that geometric structure is the basic structure of all living organic matter, the hexagon. The hexagon is the crystallized aspects of the proton and neutron creating the electron. Now, pay attention to the structure because I'm going to show you in actual atoms where this exists. If you can see it, these are the structure of a crystal atom. And within this structure, you see where it hexes. That is the basic crystallization of knowledge manifesting itself from the unseen into the unseen realm of existence. This is a two-dimensional schematic, but if I afforded the opportunity to go into the macabre, I'm going to show you where the morphogenic field that allows you to expand consciousness and have it reverberate throughout the universe and pick up the intelligence from extraterrestrial life forms. This is another aspect of an atom. I don't know exactly which atom this is, but if you can see it, you can see the hexagram. It actually makes the Star of David. The Jews are masters. The reason why the Jews use the Star of David as their symbol because they have mastered the atom. And I'm going to go into detail about that because it's how the atom is being reconfigured, which is distorting your biorhythmic harmonic, which is pushing you into a virtual, digitized universe and taking you from the hypergeometric universe.
Have anything to do with food too?
Oh, definitely. I mean, definitely.
If you keep on eating burgers, watch it.
This right here is the atoms of nickel molybdenum. Nickel molybdenum is a mineral that exists within all of our bodies. And if you see the structure of nickel molybdenum, all the white dots are the actual atom. Now, when the atoms join together, it creates a geometrical construct of consciousness. And I'm going to show you how this affects food how we eat, because what happens is this lattice, this geometrical structure becomes distorted by a biorhythmic harmonic that is resonating dissonance, which is causing chaos in your body. As a result of eating devitalized foods, as a result of drinking devitalized beverages, what those things do, send a biorhythmic harmonic of chaos throughout the body, which is called a free radical. And a free radical is when the atom, one of the electrons, are no longer in unison or in harmony with the biorhythmic construct from which it came, and the electron breaks away and it becomes a free radical. And it, because it's no longer part of the harmonic from which it originated, it sends chaotic tones which reverberates throughout our entire body, whether it be on the bloodstream, whether it be neurologically, whether it be people losing weight, gaining weight or losing weight. All right? Now, the free radical is the result of the electron moving away from its pair. Because if a atom has 2 neutrons and 2 electrons, it must, 2 neutrons, 2 protons, it must have 2 electrons. And if one of the electrons break away from its source, then it reverberates chaos. Now I'm going to show y'all what the chaos creates. This is a diagram of colon cancer. Colon cancer is the result of the biorhythmic harmonic is in a state of dis-ease. When you're not at ease, you're in a state of dis-ease. And that affects us on a multitude of levels that I'm not going to get into right now. But we're going to pay attention to the colon, because the colon is where all disease is created from. When we eat foods that lack vital minerals, or they have been devitalized, processed, taking it from its whole structure and being transformed into something like, well, I can't even begin to get into that, because they deal with so much nonsense that they put in packages and calling them foods. They're chemical substances being classified as foods so that they can systematically slow down your vibration. Because in order for a government to exist, its subjects must be dependent of its system, or there is no system. So they created what is the institutions such as the American Medical Association, the pharmaceutical companies, the Food and Drug Administration, to keep us disconnected from the true healing arts, and purposefully have these different things take place in our body so that they can profit off of us. When you go to the hospital, the word hospital only means to be hospitable. As Queen Anpu told me, that the word hospice means a place to go and die. To go and die? That's crazy. The word hospital only means to be hospitable. I bring you in, I give you a bed, I give you all kinds of drugs, all right? Then I give you a tray with some slop on it and call it food, which is not bringing back any of the vital nutrients into the body so that it can heal itself. So this is what happens. I'm going to show you, this is actually a polyp.
What?
It's called a polyp. A polyp develops as a result. This is the actual polyp. A polyp exists as an actual result of the biorhythmic harmonic being disrupted or in a state of dis-ease. So in order to not be in a state like this, then there's a series of things that we have to do, but I want to focus on this right quick for a minute. Now, the polyp forms inside the wall of your colon. Now, the polyp can be either benign or it can be malignant. But nonetheless, it's showing up as a cancer in the body. Because when the free radical breaks away from its original bioharmonic, it latches on to the molecular structure of a biorhythmic harmonic that it's foreign to, in other words. Because the biorhythmic harmonic of our body sets off at different tones. Our kidney, our liver, our spleen, our heart, our brain all have different hertz. I wanted to tell y'all exactly what they was. It's actually in a book called Colon Health. I forgot, do you remember the doctor's name? No, I forgot. I think his name's Edward something. So, as a result of putting devitalized foods in our body, which are fermenting and putrefying, the fermentation and the putrefaction becomes so decomposed that it builds up along the walls of our colon, slowing down the vibrational rate of our atoms. And then it eventually forms into this. All right? This is a result of eating foods that do not have enzymes. Enzymes is our life force. So if we eat foods that are comprised of or composed of life, then we only get more life. Now, if you take a raw almond and you take a roasted almond and you put them both in the ground, which one do you think will grow? Why? Because the raw almond still has the enzyme or the life force which has not been compromised, so it sustained its original state. It's still whole and complete. That's why I'm sure you've heard of the lifestyle of being holistic or complete. This is what they mean. It means do not disrupt the natural state of life. Now, this right here is mucoid plaque, which builds up as a result of eating chicken, as a result of eating beef and pork, and anything you can name under the sun that's outside of a fruit or a vegetable, or a nut or a grain, and water. By the time your body get in this state, then that means that the atom no longer holds the structure of the hex. It's no longer in the state of that basic structure of all living organic matter, which is the hexagon. I guess it must turn into that, because I can't even fathom, if it doesn't hold that structure, what exactly would it look like? Now this right here is the mucotoid plaque that was pulled out of the body as a result of colon irrigation. Now, our small intestine, including our large intestine, not including our anus or our rectum, is 30 feet long. The small intestine and the large intestines are 30 feet long. So if you are eating foods that are devitalized as a result of not receiving the necessary enzyme to digest food, then you would have a blockage that sits in the body. If you look at it, it got up to like, I think it say like 32 inches. 32 inches is almost 3 feet of waste, slowing down the biorhythmic harmonic of your light code transmissions. So therefore, you are being stunted in your connection to the universe because you become too dense in matter. The atom is comprised of an electrical current based on the polarizations of the proton and the neutron. So all life is particulates of light which have bonded and which have magnetized, bonded, and created a lattice. And that lattice is the structure of the hexagon. You can't have that structure maintain and sustain itself if you're being bound and weighed down into the material existence, when the true essence of who you are is spiritual beings. That's another. And somebody else's mucotoid plaque. That comes from out, actually how they get this out your body, Nasir, is they go inside your anus and they irrigate it with water, and they have to pull that out because the colon has a nerve ending of all of our organs. Just about every aspect of our body has a connection to our colon. Why? Because the colon is the area of our body where the first 8 cells that created the zygote. The zygote, for those of you who may not be familiar, is the most prime aspect of life's regeneration. And here's that image right here. That's not it. This is zygote. That's human. If you look at it, it shows our relationship to life. We no different from any other species of being on the planet. We all start off looking the same. Why? Because the atomical structure of all living organic matter is a holographic construct of that hex. That's how we are able to identify with other aspects of nature and have an appreciation for it. Now, here I'm gonna show you some. I'm gonna show you how your colon's supposed to look. That's how your colon's supposed to look. This procedure is called a colonoscopy, and what a colon specialist does, he takes a tube and he goes down into your colon and with a camera, and there's a contraption that'll take off a specimen and they'll bring it back. And then they'll test it, and they will come to terms with what it is and what it's doing it. And when they do that, they find out that all of that build up and backup is a result of the foods we eat. 80% of our immune system lies within our digestive tract. And the digestive tract is what sends God's intelligence through food to create an even greater intelligence which sustains life. Life or nature is only interested in sustaining itself. Period. Now, if you do anything that is out of rhythm with the cycles of the universe, then life has no use for you. Because life is going to sustain itself. This is another example of what a healthy colon should look like. In order to get our colons to look like that, we first have to subscribe to a diet which is based on plant foods. Because plant foods contain the cosmic intelligence of the universe based on its biogeometric structure. I'm being told that I have 5 minutes, so I can't really go further into what I wanted to say, but I wanted to show you the process of photosynthesis. This is how life on planet Earth receives or maintains or sustains God's cosmic intelligence. And that is through a process called photosynthesis. And photosynthesis transfers water and light into chemical energy. Chloroplast traps light energy, water enters the leaf, carbon dioxide enters leaf through stomata. Stomata are microscopic holes which exist within the plant. And the sugar leaves leaf. Now, that sugar is the natural sugar that we should be using to sustain life, because the sugars activate different hormones which we can use to access energy at any time that we choose to. But the plant, it receives its direction from the sun. And when you eat the intelligence of the sun, then you sustain life, because within the plant exists life force, which is the enzyme. That life force is so deep to the point that it has the instruction to come into the body and keep the body cleansed. Keep our bowels moved. Keep us being active and doing things that humans should be doing when they are in alignment with the natural orders of the universe. This is not coming up too good. This is what you call a pH balance chart. Now, pH means the potential hydrogen within the body based on ions. Now, ions are nothing more than electrons. When we receive more negative ions, we actually are in an optimal state of health.
Right? You move on like that. You are dynamite.
Are you done? When are you done? About a couple of minutes. I need help getting you done.
Don't move again. Don't say nothing else again. And I'm not talking, and I'm not playing with you. Breathe easy. Trying to show y'all an ion. This thing keeps jumping around. Well, I don't know. I don't have that much time. But I'm going to go into exactly what the ion is and what it does and how it's beneficial to our life. Well, he said that I can't go on any further. But what I would like to say is that if you would be interested in learning more about the optimal states of health, I have corresponded with Queen Anpu and her partner, Pt1, and they have what is the canopy of wellness. And what that means is that we exist as a collective consciousness, and that we too can multiply and duplicate ourselves just like the atom. So it would be a pleasure if you guys could sit down and talk with the Queen Anpu and arrange something so that she can help you address any medical issues that you may be having, or anyone that you know that may be experiencing some dis-ease or disharmony within their harmonics. But thank you, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
Give the brother another warm black hand. Next up, we have Sister Tiana McQuella. This sister is an awesome dynamic teacher. And the sister, the way we met is the sister invited me to come to her high school to speak to the students there. So she told me, she said, well, these students are not just the regular students. These students is off the chain. So when she said that, I was like, well, she said, nah, they go up top. So she was like, no, some of them, the next stop after this school, unfortunately, is prison or perhaps someplace, Wayward or the graveyard. It's like a last stop kind of spot. So they said nobody ever came up there and was able to speak to them effectively without them going up top on them. So I was kind of a little bit nervous going up there, but I said, shit, if I could speak in front of them cats in the penitentiary, I could speak in front of these kids. But I came there, and the first thing I did was I played some music. Because a lot of the next generation don't know how to interface with the kids. The easiest way to get to your kids is to play their music. Their music, quiet as kept, is the one the music is the one that's guiding the evolution. When y'all at work, the rappers is raising your kids. I was fortunate when I was a kid to be in the golden era where they had the good music. Now this music, you have to sit down and really do some parental advisory. So when I got there, I got a little bit of resistance, but when I turned the music on, it was a rap. And then we vibed and it was a good look. And from that point on, I said, this sister's really on the front line as far as an evolving culture, because you're lucky if your kids get to be in front of a teacher like this. Because I know when I was a kid, I only had, in all of grade school, I had 2 sisters teach. You know what I'm saying? And everybody else was Miss Cohen, Miss Jacob. You know what I'm saying? All these people that cannot identify with what was going on. And these were teachers who were teaching during the crack war. So I remember coming to school, seeing kids clean, and then over the summer, you come back to school, things is different. People's attitudes is different. I remember 85, 86, 87, people's moms and pops was getting high, and it reverberated in the schools. And I saw it. I watched it. And you think Miss Cohen and Miss Jacob could address that trauma? Absolutely not. Okay, so please, without further ado, the sister's also an author. She's composed more than one book. And I'm going to let her give you more details in reference to what she contributes and her scholastic achievements and whatnot, and what she intends to express to us today. So without further ado, familiarize yourself with this sister. She's going to be here with us for the long haul. All right, put your warm black hands together. Bring our sister out.
Peace, everybody. It's good to be here with everybody. I'm going to just have my notes here just in case I tend to ramble sometime. I'm going to be talking to you today about anthropology and its effects on world politics, how it's affected world politics since the 15th century, and just tie it into the war in Iraq, and then just bring it on home to how it relates to the symbolism that you'll be seeing in film that Brother Rashid will be presenting to you later. But first of all, I'm going to be utilizing the chalkboard a lot, because that's what I'm used to. So I'm just going to put the word, should I stand over here?
Oh, you good, you
okay.
good.
Okay, so the anthropology, anthropo means human. So it's human study. There are many different branches of anthropology. You have paleontology, which is the study of dinosaurs. You have linguistics, which is the study of language. You have Egyptology, of course, which is the study of ancient Egypt. Thank you. You have biological anthropology, which deals with forensics type of subject matter and skulls and things of that nature. I am a cultural anthropologist, which is the last one I was about to mention to you. Excuse me a second. Make sure I get this chalk out. And cultural anthropologists have always been what they call the humanitarian branch of anthropology, which just means that we seek to understand other cultures and effectively report that to people, usually in journals or through books or documentaries. Unfortunately, anthropology has been used since the very beginning and actually has its root in racism, which unfortunately, most of the subjects that are taught in schools were rooted in eugenics. I hope everybody is familiar with eugenics. Please, if you can, research eugenics, because it was actually an anthropologist that popularized eugenics. His name was, I'll put him up here so you can do your own research. He was knighted by the Queen, Sir Francis Galton. Francis Galton is important because he really promoted the idea of selective breeding, and that process, he was funded by Margaret Sanger, who founded Planned Parenthood. So the whole idea of racial cleansing and ethnic cleansing came from this man. His ideas have permeated sociology, biology, the social welfare agencies that we know of today. So pretty much this man has really influenced everything that we've ever been taught in school, and very few people have heard about him. So please, please research Sir Francis Galton. His cousin was somebody I'm sure everybody in here has heard of, Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin came up with the thesis that people came from monkeys. Everybody, I'm sure, has heard about that. So these ideas of eugenics and the idea that people came from monkeys, all of that was created around the same time. What else do I want to say about these two? Let's take it back to about a century before that. There was a man named Thomas Malthus. Charles Darwin is credited with creating this idea of survival of the fittest. It was actually Thomas Malthus that came up with that. Okay, he had long been dead by the time Charles Darwin came on the scene, but Charles Darwin was influenced by Thomas Malthus, and Malthus's doctrine was pretty much that there was never going to be enough. There had to be a class structure in society because there's never going to be enough food for everybody, never going to be enough resources for everybody. So Charles Darwin just kind of took his idea, which that whole idea of survival of the fittest only came about by him studying goats. A lot of people don't realize he was not an anthropologist. He was not any kind of social scientist whatsoever. He was actually just watching goats one day, kind of struggling over a piece of hay, and he came up with this idea of survival of the fittest. Now, after he created this article, he realized after about 20 so years that he was wrong. There is no such thing as survival of the fittest, and there's not. The creatures and anything that survives in the world are creatures or people that work together. It's harmony that creates survival, a survival situation, not struggle. But by that time, his ideas had already been so intertwined with other sciences, it was too late. And he did put out an article saying, hey, I made a mistake, but by then it was all over. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of the background of anthropology from the 19th century, but actually I want to take it back to the 15th century, when cultural anthropology, as far as the Western world is concerned, really began, which was 1492 when Columbus came over to the so-called New World. Okay, so he brought with him missionaries and other people to first document the culture of the natives here, and in order to exploit them, because they had to understand the way the people thought, the way they organized their societies in order to dominate them, and that is what cultural anthropology has sought to do since that time period. Okay? So there's a man I would love for you guys to research. This is actually, he's credited with actually being the first cultural anthropologist. His name was Sahagún, and he documented the Aztec culture in order to dominate them. He enslaved priests to give secrets that only initiates were allowed to get. And as a result of that, there are a lot of, they call them codexes or codices. And there are just volumes and volumes. Everything you know about the Aztecs, the Mayans, unfortunately came as a result of Sahagun and his kind of thugs that he rolled with. Okay, that forced the people to give them critical cultural information in order to brainwash the people of South America. Okay, so let me just bring it back to today. So anthropology, unfortunately, has been through this whole phase of domination. Then around the 60s, it starts changing. Everything changed around the 60s. Okay, so people started saying, hey, well, why don't we just kind of hang out with people and get to know people? We no longer want to be involved in the intelligence aspect of anthropology. So it became out of vogue in order to use the cultural information that they had gathered against people. Okay, so that's when a lot of anthropological associations began to put it in their code of ethics that they would not use the cultural information against people, but rather would protect the people that they were studying. Unfortunately, as of September 11th, many anthropological associations in the United States have taken that out of their code of ethics. So now anthropologists are in Iraq. They've been deployed in Iraq, Afghanistan, and they're actually telling these commanders what to do in order to dominate the people of the Middle Eastern region. Okay, so there's a few programs that are seeking to do this. They did this in Vietnam. It was a program called CORDS, which was Civilian Organization Revolutionary Development System, and this would be just a bunch of anthropologists during Vietnam that were sent out to set up propaganda, leaflets, radio programming for the Vietnamese people. The program was not employed effectively. That's why the United States actually lost the war in Vietnam, but they never stated that they did. But there's something called the Human Terrain System that serves the same purpose, and that's who's out in Iraq today, the Human Terrain System. If you go on the website of the U.S. Army, you will see jobs for people to join the Human Terrain System. The reason this is important is because they're using cultural anthropologists, data analysts, linguists, and again, doing the same old tricks, going out there, learning critical information about the Iraqi people to feed to the intelligence agencies of the people that seek to dominate them. Now, on the American Anthropological Association's website, they are saying there are spies among us, there's spies among us. And there's a real cry for people to stop doing this because it's not ethical to use that information in that capacity. So there are two programs now. The government is actually sending, giving college students money to work for them for a specific amount of time. This is Pat Roberts' Intelligent Students Program. Okay, and this is the ICSP, Intelligence Community Scholars Program. So what the government is doing is saying, hey, we want you to major in anthropology, but after you major in anthropology, we'll pay for your education, but you have to work for us for at least 5 years after you graduate. So that's kind of making them indentured servants to these intelligence agencies. Okay, so this is a real tragedy because a lot of funding that college students used to get from independent sources are drying up. Okay, so there used to be a lot of different independent organizations that would fund college students, and that has pretty much diminished. So if anybody has children in here, your kids will probably be sought out to do intelligence work. That's where anthropology is going. Okay, so that is also a problem, especially in cultural anthropology classrooms, where there's a lot of controversial subject matter being discussed, such as race, class, gender, and all of these topics. But now professors may pull back on those conversations because they know there are spies in their midst. Okay, so this can change the whole academic scene. And this was actually reported in the New York Times about how anthropologists are actually doing intelligence work for governmental agencies. Okay? So I just want to stay on track here. Just a little bit of history. I'm just going to jump around. Anthropologists were used during detention camps. I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but there were detention camps here in the United States during World War II, where Japanese Americans were kept in detention camps, where they employed anthropologists also to guard these detention camps. Okay, so that is also a capacity that they've worked. If you have time, go on this website, phraselator.com. The phraselator is a device, because some anthropologists feel, uncomfortable about using cultural information against people, especially when they're being interrogated by U.S. intelligence or foreign intelligence agencies. They have a device, anybody watches Star Trek, they have something called a universal translator, where they can translate any language with this little machine. Well, that's actually come to pass. So it's called the phraselator. So they will go out to Iraq and they will have a device that says, put your hands in the air, or where's your commander? Okay, so they're using devices as well to dominate people linguistically. Okay. So I'm just going to tie it into what we're here for Brother Rashid's presentation, which is cryptography. We just said that he breaks it down, but this is the actual anthropological term for what is actually happening here. I'm a high school teacher, so I'm used to just writing things on the board. So the science of enciphering and deciphering messages in secret code. Okay, so that's what's going on today, and I wanted to talk to you a bit about, because we're doing this here amongst ourselves in the community, which is a great thing. Every intelligence agency has a department that is doing exactly what we're doing right here, but with other cultures. Okay, so in order to extract cultural information, so it's critical that we know these terms, because we're just saying we're breaking it down here, we're getting knowledge and all that stuff, but we could be going on websites if we have the vocabulary to look into the academic side of things. I know a lot of us don't want to do that, saying, oh, well, I don't need their validation, or I don't want to go there, but it's actually very important for us to have academics around us that have the insight, to really tie it into what we're trying to do here in our community. Okay, so cryptography is a real science that is valued in the intelligence communities, and we need to know what's going on in these intelligence communities. Messages that have been converted is called a cipher, and this is the language that they'll use. So when he goes into all the films, when he goes into the symbolism of these films, it's not an accident. And some people say, oh, you guys go too far. I'm sure if somebody has told somebody things about other films that he has decoded, and says, oh, you're going too deep now. It's just not that serious. But also, if you've ever worked in theater, you realize that every prop, everything in the background in a film, nothing is an accident. If you've worked in the entertainment industry, there is nothing that is an accident, especially when you deal with the people that are putting these films out, since Hollywood has always been involved with cryptography, and Hollywood has always had a marriage with intelligence agencies. Okay, so I stress that to you, to please not overlook the importance of the symbolisms and everything that are in these films. You are not crazy, okay? So what is going on here is visual cryptography. That is what Brother Rashid does. Okay, so we're just doing it in a visual form. Okay, so there's regular cryptography and there's visual. Okay, so now I'm going to just discuss how important it is to understand how this affects us, how visual cryptography affects us. Now, whether or not we know what the symbols are in these movies, they are affecting us, because a lot of the time, especially in science fiction and fantasy films, where you have a lot of fantastic things happening like the Matrix, which are just already been chewed storylines from mythologies, as we know. Either they're saying, they're telling the story of Peru, or, some other culture's mythology, which they got during the 19th century. Most of these plot lines, that's why they don't really give Academy Awards to science fiction films, only for technology or special effects. They rarely give science fiction or fantasy films Academy Awards because they know the subject matter is thousands of years old in most cases. So they can't really reward something that they know they've already taken from somebody else. However, if you use the mythology of other people and put yourself in the mythology, then you become God to those people. It's very simple. Okay, so that's why we have to be familiar with certain symbols. I'm going to use this symbol as an example. Does anybody know what that symbol is? Star Trek. Does anybody know what it's called? No? It's called the Yab. It's a very ancient symbol. Okay, it's supposed to be together with something called the Yum symbol. It's used in Tantra from India. Okay, and this symbolizes the male aspect of creation, and this represents the female. Now in India, you will never see the Yab or the Yum separate. So what does that say about Star Trek, since that's their communication device, and that's their teleportation device? That's saying something very critical about Star Trek. We know that they're trekking through the stars, and they're taking it's really, they're just anthropologists out in space trying to convert everybody's beliefs. Okay, if you've watched the show. Okay, so they communicate with this device. They will also play with another symbol. I'm just giving examples of why we need to be familiar with cross-cultural symbols. A lot of us are familiar with African symbols, okay, Kemetic symbols, but we got to go further than that because we're not familiar with stuff from India, so now they're playing with your head there, okay? They actually play games with this symbol, which a lot of us know. Everybody know what that is? I'm sorry, it's not a good artist on the chalkboard. Y'all know what that is? No? Okay, the crook and flail from Kemet. Right? It's not that bad. Okay, so the flail represented the pharaoh's ability to discipline his subjects, or her subjects. There were female pharaohs, right? And this was a symbol of guidance. So this is the crook, sorry people, and the flail. This is a symbol of spiritual guidance, and that's why the crook represented the female aspect. Similar to the Yabum I just have over here. You have the flail, which represented discipline and a male aspect. So what they will do now is put the flail. The flail is supposed to be on the right side. That's how traditionally they used to carry the crook and the flail in Kemet, just to give you an example. But they switch it a lot of times in Hollywood films. Okay, so this side traditionally meant that it was traditionally supposed to be on the right side, because traditionally in the occult, the left side of the body is female and the right side is male. Okay, so the pharaoh would put the flail on the right side of the body because that's a masculine aspect, and would put this on the left side because that was a feminine aspect, spiritual knowledge. So now when they switch it, they're switching the roles of male and female, and we don't know. Okay? And that still speaks to us even though we may not be conscious of it, because the subconscious mind always understands symbolism, even if consciously you have no idea what you're looking at. So you're being programmed. Okay? All right, so cryptology is what we're talking about here, because that's the trick. That's what it's called. Cryptology is the science or art of hiding hidden messages and images. This is important to know because really all mythology is cryptology. Because I'm sure a lot of us know here that if you take, let's say, the stories of the Bible or any of the religious texts, that if you take it at face value, you take it literally, you will miss the cryptologic messages in that text because it's hidden to protect the information. Okay, and that's why it's important to decipher what you read, especially when it's written in a way that obviously, like for example, Noah's Ark. I mean, it's obvious that that didn't occur, that that's a symbolic story, but the purpose of doing that is for domination and control over the masses. Okay, because people in power have always known that if you take a story at face value, it will create fear in the people that they're seeking to dominate. Because the stories themselves are cautionary tales about what is going to happen if you do not develop yourself spiritually. Okay? If you don't develop yourself spiritually, then you'll go to hell. Okay? If you just take it at face value, it's a very frightening experience, for example. But if you think about the purification process that is involved in that parable or that hidden message, then maybe you won't just give up on life. Maybe you'll just seek to cleanse yourself, which is what the fire represents, the cosmic fire. Okay? But if you don't know about the cosmic fire, then you get spooked out. Okay? So it's very, very important that you understand these symbols and that you integrate them into your everyday life. Really try to study maybe 10 or 12 symbols a week, and after a while you become very symbol literate and you will understand what is being put on your television screen. Okay, so I just really want to impress upon you the importance of doing this because, again, if you do not understand symbols and how mythology and the placement of other people in your mythology affects your psyche, then you will end up worshiping that other person. That is my ultimate message, and that is done through cultural anthropology and the studying of symbols. I'm not really good at drawing this symbol. I'm going to try. You know what? I'm not even going to do it to myself. There are a couple of symbols for biohazard and things of that nature. Please research those because a lot of those symbols, when it's something toxic or something, they actually come from the spiritual systems of other people. The skull and bones? Oh yeah, definitely the skull and bones, but also the biohazard symbol was a symbol of the samurai. And just on and on, there are a lot of different examples of how symbols have been manipulated and changed around for the purposes of white supremacy and world domination. So if there are any questions, I just really wanted just to impress that upon you. Go ahead.
Do you have a suggestion of what book we can read to become more symbol literate?
One particular book, no. What I would suggest is just go culture by culture, and that way you will get the historical context of the symbol. You don't want to just look at, okay, I understand what that symbol is. Maybe just read a little paragraph, get a book on Mayans, for example, and just read a little bit.
I have a book called Signs and Symbols of Man by Albert Churchward, which talks about the symbols that they use in Kemet and all around how it's ancient and those different symbols in it.
That's a great book to get. Who's the author again? I remember.
Albert Churchward.
Albert Churchward. Yeah, that's a very good book. Also, there's an author. I'm sure some of you guys that are a little older remember Joseph Campbell, who wrote fantastic books on mythology, and he actually said that what I was just telling you for a long time. He wrote a book called The Power of Myth, and he also did a PBS series about mythology and how mythology is the language of the soul. So if we go to the movies and we have our enemy in the film acting like ourselves, and we don't know our story, because it's very important that you know the mythologies of where you came from, okay, in order to be able to counteract that. Because I know a lot of young men, especially young men that I've seen, they watch movies like The Matrix or something, and they really identify with the hero character, but they know nothing about Haru. They just know the hero, and then Keanu Reeves becomes their symbol of manhood, or whoever it is, instead of those ancient deities or historical figures that actually, pioneered that. Are there any other questions about anything dealing with anthropology, symbols, anything? Okay. Go ahead.
You didn't want to attempt to draw, but I was thinking the biohazard symbol, isn't it? 3 triangles.
It's sort of like semicircles. There's semicircles and then
Right,
one
okay.
one circle on the top.
Almost like rectangular circles.
Right.
What's that last book you said? Technology is
The power.
The language of soul. Yeah, the power of myth. It's also a very good series that you can get. Usually, like Amazon carries that. Anything?
What about the swastika?
The swastika is so ancient. It goes all the way back to Kemet, and you can find the swastika also on Buddhist and Hindu statues. But it's been turned around. It's upside down, just like a lot of the stars are turned upside down.
What does it mean? They are actually a
Truth in all directions.
weights.
What is
A Congo weights. That's what that swastika is.
Yes, but it's curved. It's curved. It's an Adinkra symbol
Yes,
as well.
exactly.
But it sort of has this kind of appearance, right? So it's very ancient. It's a very ancient symbol. Everybody's had this symbol. But what's his name? Hitler was an occultist. He had many books on the occult. He studied heavily. He actually went on tour to Kemet, to Egypt to look through the temples, and he pretty much just copied a lot of the symbols. And he had a very, very, very good anthropology staff. And actually, a lot of what Americans learned from the Nazis, from Prussia, from Germany. So that's why you get a lot of this eugenics and ethnic cleansing stuff. So it's all a marriage. You just have to be very comfortable with history in order to see those synchronicities.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What are the standard languages of anthropologists? Like, what would bar you from being an anthropologist or an Egyptologist for that matter? And what language do you have to know?
In order to be to get a doctorate in Egyptology, you have to speak French and German.
Did y'all hear that?
French and German are the languages. They will not let you into a program without, at least if not speaking it, you have to be comfortable reading it, at least on a basic level. Okay? So that's how they kind of block, obviously they block us from getting in the Egyptology programs, is putting that stipulation on us. Go ahead.
Well, you can't say that now because they have Rosetta Stone. You want to learn a language, get Rosetta Stone, and you can learn it.
Yeah, the thing is they want you to be able to read these academic newsletters. You can't just, have a...
I understand
Yeah.
that, but if you get that and get the basics, you can do anything.
Of course, no, it shouldn't stop us.
Okay.
Because we have to do, we're in high school, we have, a lot of us had to take Spanish or something. So if you want the doctorate bad enough, you go and get it. But the point is that it's our information, it's our history. Why should we have to learn that in order to be seen as a scholar and be on the National Geographic programs? Why do we have to speak French and German? Although a lot of the stuff from the 19th century was written and documented in French and German. Are there any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
Give the sister another warm black hand. Isn't it refreshing to see a sister up here? Without further ado, we're going to bring a brother who came all the way from Philadelphia to give us a dynamite message. And this one is called the astrological autopsy on Hollywood. So if anybody is remotely in the crux of what we're trying to do, you are aware and openly know this brother Anpu. So give brother Anpu a warm black hand. He's gonna come in and drop. 1 second, yes sir. Oh, and let me say one thing. Excuse me, but Sanetta clipped me. We got Dr. Ray Hagins and Alim Bey in the great debate versus the mighty Hebrew Israelites. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, so great, boy.
The date on that is June 29th.
Here.
Where at? Sorry. Right here. Right here. So I want everybody in the audience here to tell 10 more people to come and see this because this is going to be awesome. I'm going to be here. I hope I get to smoke one of them too. Because they always angry. They always got the solutions, but none of them know no Hebrew. You a Hebrew Israelite without the Hebrew. Talking about King James is a black man. Talking about you don't need the Hebrew. Disgusting. And it's just like Christians, they even preach on Sunday. Go to 125th Street, the Israelites is out there on Sunday. All right? So our next event here is going to be on Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday. You hear that? Easter Sunday. So all the closet Easter people, tell your peoples that you're not doing Easter this year. Y'all laughing, but we don't make no money during Christmas. The brothers who do the videography, we don't make no money during Christmas, but we market to conscious people. What's fucking with that? Make me want to start selling trinkets around then to pay the rent, right? To justify it. Because we get this thing where we start hoarding the bread around Christmas time and don't even realize the mind control at work. See? So if you're going to look cute on Easter Sunday, because that's what we used to do, remember, go get fly and go to Coney Island, right? And then wear the same Easter the next day to your cousin's house. Wear your Easter outfit 2 days in a row, right? All right, and then we got Bobby. So Bobby's coming, and the lecture is called The Resurrection, the Osirian and Moorish Resurrection of, it's going to be awesome. I want everybody to be here, and special shout out, that's Easter Sunday, March 23rd. Doors open at 2.
Okay.
Another thing we want to give a shout out to Brother Black Dot. He's in Atlanta right now giving his lecture, and he's representing for us. So he wants to create a synergy. So our love goes out. And then
This is you, so you gotta promote you.
okay, on April 5th, we're gonna be in New Jersey, in New Jerusalem. Where?
At Larry's Bookstore.
At Larry's Bookstore in Camden, New Jersey.
At 6 p.m. or 2 to 6. That's
Okay.
Brother A.A. Rashid.
Okay, from 2 to 6 p.m. And we're going to be talking about Kabbalistic techniques for psychic self-defense. So we're going to, because you know we got a lot of haters. Right? You know, it's serious in real life. And a lot of haters, we entertain our haters. We create a platform for our haters. And then when they bite us, we be like, why you do that? But the whole time they've been was telling us. Now we want to get, before you get bit, self-love, not looking outside yourself for acceptance, but then you have a bunch of old emotional obligatory debts that we created with people that ain't been paid yet because we've been either accepting gifts or giving them with false intent. You know what I'm saying? So the psychic self-defense aspect is about empowering you and empowering your name and using your voice. We're going to speak about the voice today. We're going to speak about why they got a nigga that can speak so well in tandem with them shooting comments and all this. This is a very scientific time. Everything you say out your mouth promises to make itself manifest. This is the most specialist, greatest time to ever be alive. No other time period ever, even when they was building pyramids. They had to build the pyramids to compensate for what you have at your exposure right now, that you could utilize right now. At your disposal. All right, without further ado, Brother Anpu, come on up here. Take a black dancing.
Peace, everybody. Peace. Black Power. Hotep.
Hotep.
All right.
Black Power.
Black Power, right? It's definitely a pleasure to be here. I'd like to thank, of course, the Almighty Creator for allowing this opportunity to occur. And I'd like to thank all of you because it is your energy and consciousness in which is in complete synchronization with one another that's allowing this to manifest and be. Brother Ahmed just said about understanding the time that we in. Let's go back and study the wisdom I always like to say Master Fawad, but the most honorable Elijah Muhammad dealing with the theology of time. And when the brother said about the pyramids, they had to build those pyramids in order to talk about what we have at our disposal right now. This is the greatest time to live in. And surely it is. Because what you say be, will be. So, but we knew this because the first law in the Hermetic science is what? Mentalism. So thought. Thought is the first law. Just like I was telling the brother, he asked me something about sovereignty. And you were here, Brother Shabazz out there on 125th, bashing sovereignty. And he's absolutely correct. Because in all actuality, sovereignty and freedom starts with your mind. It got nothing to do with some paperwork. Although I have seen paperwork work. So where am I at? Well, we have to understand and understand that you, as black, or you want to call yourself white, I don't care, but we as the same people that's in this room right now and our people outside of this room, in the streets, and throughout the entire diaspora of the planet Earth, our people, melanated beings, black, whatever you want to call it, we have an open enemy.
That's right.
Point blank, we got an enemy. So you ain't gonna never get me off that square truth alone. Let's live in the mindset that you and your family is at war. If we wasn't, we wouldn't even be here.
That's right.
Yeah, we here for it.
That's right.
All right? So we are at war.
Nobody's gonna deal with that enemy.
Never gonna leave that square truth. All right? So that's how we must operate. Give it a second. Again would be the astrological autopsy of Hollywood.
Holla.
All right, and what we have to understand again is dealing with the whole science of time. All right.
Straighten that out.
All right. We have to get into the science of time and understanding and overstanding where we are. If you can't tell me where we are, then there's no way possible you're going to tell me who you are. How the hell are you going to tell me who you are you don't know where you at? It's just a question, all right? We have to understand where we are at, even in the vastness of the blackness of the universe or just dealing with this particular solar system because it has a measurement. It can be measured, all right? And again, I have to give, and this is me personally, all praises and thanks to no other than Master Fawad Muhammad. In my opinion, I'm entitled to that, who was the greatest mystic that the world has ever seen. It's a very powerful statement. Well, you can look at many of platforms today, movements, organizations, divine governments in its own right, and you still can see the wisdom that was encoded in that. Now, I'm not saying that's the supreme wisdom and he's the top God of everything, because surely what he brought to us was lost. That's why he called it Lost Found Muslim Lessons. It was lost. It has now been recovered by us, and it's in our DNA to enact certain things. Just be able to click it.
I know.
Hey, not you. That's you, baby. What you want?
I mean, hey, you hit the slideshow for me. Work for me. So understanding the time is what I'm going to get on, and all right, I'm going to start in the PowerPoint. You got to get rid of that EBG, that's 5 words, 5. hit presentation on the right side. Yeah, see if you go to that thumb drop. Full screening. Yeah.
Well, get his sister one.
No.
I gotta do
That's why they let you get off that.
Don't go nowhere.
And you go ahead and you do your thing, all right? So, the astrological autopsy of Hollywood, go ahead. All right? Again, my name is Brother Anpu, and I'm going to deal with the sorcery that Brother Rashid and all of us really talk about, because all of this, is dealing with mind control. Go ahead, sis. What I'm going to show you is the patterns that occur in famous people's deaths. All right, and the pattern I'm going to show you is based off the planets or where they were at when they were born, which sign, what planet was in which particular sign when they were born, and where it was at the time of their assassination or attempt, or the time that they made their transformation into the other world. All right, the next. Again, knowing what we are is very important because we are affected by all of these planetary energies. Some of them are just more subtle and you don't feel it and you're not consciously aware that you're acting a certain way. You know what I mean? But now, for example, we're getting on this money thing and we're starting to come together economically, but it's simply because there's a lot of things that's going on in the 10th house right now. Pluto just went over there, so you're going to see some things transform. Hit the next one. On a hot summer day, and this is the best way, and I put that there because when it's hot outside, the activity of the people change. With our people, right? So when it's hot, that's what you will see. And brothers will start, tripping. You know what I mean? Because the activity is changing. Just to show you how we are affected by the rock, by the light. Go ahead, sis. All right, planets and their characters. I'm gonna hit it just in case somebody or anybody out there or in here are not really too familiar with it. The sun's supposed to represent yourself. The dominant side, it is the male aspect. The moon, emotion. The unconscious mind is the feminine side. Mercury is the brain. It's how you communicate. Venus, love, beauty. Feminine represents harmony. All right. Mars, watch that. Mars is aggressive, protective. It's the warrior, but it's also sexual energy. You can tear somebody up with all of these, but with Mars particularly. Jupiter represents love, growth, and expansion. It's the big planet. All right. Saturn, father time, which is law, restrictions. 28-year cycle. You may, in the first 28 years of your life, you may experience a divorce. Just because you're about to hit 30, you know what I mean? The law of Saturn has made its revolution back to its original house where it was at when you were born. All right, so watch out for the 28-year law. Uranus represents sudden change or revolution. Neptune, imagination, the subconscious, dreams, psychic. And the basis of this was I was studying the 12th house, which is Pisces, and its planet Neptune. And I'm going to show you the pattern that keeps occurring. Pluto represents death and transformation. Next. Each sign has a planet or two, starting with the first. Aries is Mars, Taurus, Venus, Gemini, Mercury, Cancer, Moon, Leo, Sun, Virgo, Mercury, Libra, Venus, Scorpio, Pluto and Mars. Sagittarius is Jupiter, Capricorn, Saturn, Aquarius, Saturn and Uranus, Pisces, Neptune. Go ahead. All right. Each sign has a house. The house is very familiar to the sign, but it's just giving you the characteristics of that particular sign. So like Aries is first. That represents self, early childhood. The second house, money, possessions. Third, communications and siblings. Fourth is home. And the home is going to feel great affliction right now because Pluto, which is, they say, the last planet, if it's in the 10th house, 10 minus 6 is 4, which is the opposition. Pluto is right here at 10 o'clock. 180 degrees straight across is the home. So the home is going to feel the effect because Pluto is in opposition to the home. And now Mars just went into Cancer, which is the home. So watch for aggressive energy in your household. But you can capitalize on it if you know the energy pattern. Because remember, Mars is a sexual thing, all right? But watch out for the aggression. Now, the 5th house, creativity, children, romance, and risk. 6th house, health, service, responsibility. 7th house of Libra, partnerships. 8th house, death, rebirth, sex, joint resources. You always hear Ahmed talk about sex, right? Scorpio, that's what it's dealing with. 9th house, philosophy, long travel, law, religion. 10th house is career, reputation, and government. 11th house of Aquarius, goals, friendships, and groups. And the 12th house of Pisces deals with past karma, subconscious mind, and psychic activity. If you pay close attention to the Piscean age, which is the last age or the age we are leaving, since we're about to go into Aquarius, this previous age of the fish of Jesus was all about the mystery. Every other house from 1 to 11 deals on the physical plane. Look at it. Childhood, money, possessions, communications is mental, but the Gemini is the siblings. Physical, home, physical. Children in the 5th house, physical. Health, service, and responsibility, physical. Partnerships, physical. Sex, joint research, physical. Philosophy, long travel, law, and religion. These are all mental things, but they're physical and placements to trap you into the physical. All right? Career and reputation in government, physical. Friendships and groups, physical. The 12th house is a mental house. Understand the last age that you were in or coming out of to understand what we're about to enter into, which is the age of information. Go ahead. Why must we study the wheel? This is the great wheel. The mother plane right here. I'm going to show you a different mother plane at the end. All right, there. Because your enemy uses this ancient science. United States government is built off of the constellation of Virgo. They use it. This is our science, and it is our government in respect to, it is ours in a sense, we have the natural God-given right to govern ourselves and our people for the sake of humanity and balance for complete equilibrium for the entire universe. Because when we're out of order, then the universe is out of order. And that's why you're about to see what they call the 2012 pole shift. Because we are not in order. But we're coming back. Go ahead. We taught them this science. This is courtesy of the Pennsylvania Masonic Museum. Been in there, took the picture. May move it now. All right, but this is the Pennsylvania York Rite, is the oldest working rite in Freemasonry inside of the United States. And as soon as you go through the hallway, the very first picture is this picture right here. Brother Ben, not Ben Franklin, Brother Ben standing up in attire, right, handing over the map while they sitting down. So again, that denotes authority. And if you know where that picture was at and you're familiar with Philadelphia, that little telescope-looking thing, that would actually be pointing at William Penn. Because that's how it's situated in there. Everything they work with is based off the cube and knowing the square. All right? But we taught them the science. It is up to us to redeem ourselves and go back and start governing ourselves. Stop allowing people to dictate our consciousness. Hit the next one. Overstanding aspects, but I'm not going to touch on aspects. But dealing in astrology, conjunctions are when planets share the same sign, and they're usually with 10, some say 8 degrees of each other. A trine is when planets are 120 degrees away from each other and they're favorable. Too many trines in your chart can make you lazy because things come to you too easy. So if it comes to you easy, you don't really put a lot of effort into it. Get kind of lazy because you may have some trines in your chart. A sextile is 60 degrees and is considered basically an opportunity. Hit the next. Overstanding afflictions. This is what we're going to focus on. Opposition is when planets are at 180 degrees. Just think of a clock. All right? 12 o'clock straight across from 12 is 6. Straight across from 9 is 3. All right? That's what opposition is. Opposition don't necessarily mean friction like that. You should look at it in the sense that that's what you need to restore balance. That's your other side, all right? And since you need that for balance, you know what I mean? It's like working out. That resistance is going to be there in order for you to get that, you know, that cut. You know what I mean? That girth that you need. So you need that resistance. Resistance is mandatory. Resistance is mandatory. It's not only good for the physical being when you're working out, but it is good for your mental state also. Resist the powers that be that want to keep you in confinement. All right? A square. A square is a 90-degree angle or a fourth part of a circle, and it denotes friction. Again, look at a clock. If it's at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock is a square. That's a 90-degree angle. If it's at 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock is a square. All right? Notice that the master, if you step into some worlds of the occult, the master, he wears the square. But even our good brothers over there really don't know what they're working with. But they will. Hit the next one. Welcome to the dark side. Hit the next one. From this point forward, you will pay close attention to coincidences in your life and understand that it is indeed a mathematical sequence that you yourself thought into reality. Everything happens for a reason. And that reason is your permission. If you are here, and you are here, then there is no escaping. Run if you choose and be hunted by your subconscious nightmares. There are divine beings from other dimensions making themselves known unto you. You are the ones we have been waiting for. Hit the next one. The next one. The next one. Studying Neptune in the 12th house. The house of secret enemies. Why do I say that? Because Neptune, when it has opposition in this chart, all right, if you have your 12th house is afflicted, meaning squares are opposition, then there's a good chance that you're going to have a secret enemy in your life. See, this is the house that you study to get that past karma and understand, okay, what did I do in the previous life? Who was I in the previous life? But when this house is afflicted, watch out for secret enemies. And I'm going to mathematically prove it. Watch the pattern. Let's go. Look at Pop, born 6/16/71. Died on 9/13. 9/13 is a very significant number in Kabbalah. I'm not going to touch it. Rashid touched it before. Research his material. All right, get the next one. Understand this. His sun in Gemini. When he dies in Virgo. What's that? That's a square. Moon in Pisces. Pisces, right? That's what prompted me to the study. Moon in Pisces, when he dies in Virgo, that's an opposition. Mercury's in Gemini. When he dies in Virgo, that's a square. His Mars in Aquarius, but when he dies in Leo, man, that's an opposition. Saturn's in Taurus, when he dies, that's in Leo. That's a square, and it's in opposition to his native sign, meaning when Saturn is in Leo, it's opposition to his native sign because Saturn is the home of Aquarius, right? So when you get that placement, it's straight opposition. But look at Neptune. Neptune, when he was born, is in Sagittarius. And the reason why Sagittarius is in red, because Neptune is the 12th house. Why is it in the 9th house? When it's in the 9th house, that is now a 90-degree angle. That's a square. But pay close attention. Virgo, when he died. Virgo, Virgo. Virgo is the 6th sign. Thus you see 666. Depends how you see it. Ain't that what Doc tell you all the time? Depends how you look at it. Get the next one. Let's get in the big. Get the next one. All right. Sun in Gemini. When he died, Pisces. That's a square, and that is an awful square, let me tell you. That is an awful square if you do not dedicate yourself in time to understand that energy right there. I have just been involved and witnessed a relationship that was just so damn horrible. But it was beautiful in the sense that brothers and sisters and the family was trying to be together. But it affected us in such a negative way that, needless to say, trust me, it is a nasty square. All right? Moon in Virgo. When he dies in Pisces, see, that's opposition to it, that's a square, and it actually squares his natal sun. Because when the moon is in Pisces, again, that's a square. So when Mercury's in Taurus, It goes in Pisces, right? When he died. Neptune and Sag again. All right, that squares its natural house. And what am I saying? Watch this. Hit the next one. Life After Death, Biggie's album. His album came out on 3/25, right? He died on the 9th. Now, 25 minus 9 is 16. But you always gotta count the first day, the day of the initiation. So if you count the day of the initiation, in which he crossed over, you get 17 days, and I told you in Kabbalah 17 means sacrifice. But now it was 16 whole days later that the album came out, and 16 in Kabbalah means what? Fail, injury, war. Alright, now watch this. Yep. Do the math. The sun is in Pisces for big when he died. The moon's in Pisces and big when he died. His Mercury's in Pisces. Look at Pop. The sun is in Virgo, moon in Virgo, Mercury in Virgo. This is opposition. This is 12, this is 6. 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. 6, 6, 6. Opposition. Damn, these two had beef with each other. No shit. Excuse my language. But understand the law. Understand the law that's at place here. Hit the next one. Jam Master J. The next one. His sun in Aquarius when he dies in Scorpio. That's a square. 8 and 11. That's a square. The house of death, Scorpio. Moon in Virgo, right? When he dies in Leo, that's in opposition to his natal sun. All right? Mercury in Capricorn when he dies in Libra. That's a square. Jupiter in Taurus when it's in Leo when he died. That's a square. Saturn's in Pisces. Secret enemies. All right? What happened? When he dies in Gemini, they go that nasty square. All right? And it was retrograding, but I'm not going to get into retrogrades right now. But Neptune was in Scorpio, which means death and rebirth. And when he dies in Aquarius, 8 and 11 is a square. You see the pattern that keeps showing up? It's a square. Hit the next one. So let's understand the polytrix. Go ahead. Look at Malcolm. Next one. Sun in Taurus. He dies in Pisces, house of secret enemies. Right? His moon is in Aries. When he goes in Scorpio, sign of death. Mercury in Taurus. When he goes, it's in Aquarius. That's a square, and it was in the 30th degree, which means it was now start to enter Pisces, which means the Piscean energy was actually about to start taking this effect because you feel these things long before they get there. So when it's coming up on you, it's like a storm. You feel the wind and you see it coming. So you already start to see the effects, all right? Neptune is in Leo. Look at Neptune. When he dies in Scorpio, that's a square. Coincidence, or are we talking about astrological law? The next one. Martin Luther King, next. Sun is in Capricorn. When he goes, it's in Aries, square. Moon's in Pisces. They go that Gemini square again, see? That Gemini square. Mercury's in Aquarius when he goes in Pisces. Pisces, secret enemies, all right? Jupiter's in Taurus. When he goes in Leo, square. Saturn's in Sagittarius when he goes in Aries.
Devitalized process, taking it from its whole structure and being transformed into something like, well, I can't even begin to get into that because they deal with so much nonsense that they put in packages and calling them foods. They're chemical substances being classified as foods so that they can systematically slow down your vibration. Because in order for a government to exist, its subjects must be dependent of its system, or there is no system. So they created what is the institutions such as the American Medical Association, the pharmaceutical companies, the Food and Drug Administration, to keep us disconnected from the true healing arts and purposefully have these different things take place in our body so that they can profit off of us. When you go to the hospital, the word hospital only means to be hospitable. As Queen Anpu told me that the word hospice means a place to go and die. To go and die? That's crazy. The word hospital only means to be hospitable. I bring you in, I give you a bed, I give you all kinds of drugs, all right? Then I give you a tray with some slop on it and call it food, which is not bringing back any of the vital nutrients into the body so that it can heal itself. So this is what happens. I'm going to show you, this is actually a polyp. It's called a polyp. A polyp develops as a result. This is the actual polyp. A polyp exists as an actual result of the biorhythmic harmonic being disrupted or in a state of dis-ease. So in order to not be in a state like this, then there's a series of things that we have to do, but I want to focus on this right quick for a minute. Now, the polyp forms inside the wall of your colon. Now, free radical. And a free radical is when the atom, one of the electrons, are no longer in unison or in harmony with the biorhythmic construct from which it came, and the electron breaks away and it becomes a free radical. And it, because it's no longer part of the harmonic from which it originated, it sends chaotic tones which reverberates throughout our entire body, whether it be on the bloodstream, whether it be neurologically, whether it be people losing weight, gaining weight or losing weight. All right? Now, the free radical is the result of the electron moving away from its pair. Because if a atom has 2 neutrons and 2 electrons, two neutrons, 2 protons, it must have 2 electrons. And if one of the electrons break away from its source, then it reverberates chaos. Now I'm going to show y'all what the chaos creates. This is a diagram of colon cancer. Colon cancer is the result of the biorhythmic harmonic is in a state of dis-ease. When you're not at ease, you're in a state of dis-ease. And that affects us on a multitude of levels that I'm not going to get into right now. But we're going to pay attention to the colon, because the colon is where all disease is created from. When we eat foods that lack vital minerals, or they have been in our consciousness and actually changed our whole perceptions of thought based on our relationships to the universe. And the geometric structure that our consciousness is made up of is composed of these 5 geometric structures. This is called the 5 platonic solids. And the term platonic means that there is one relationship. So there is one relationship between those 5 structures that make up the basic construct of our consciousness that is related to all aspects of who we are within the material plane of existence. What takes place within these 5 structures, it originates from our atomic self, which is the building block of all living organic matter. The atom is the building block of all living organic matter. And the atom has the intelligence to transcend itself, or transcend its intelligence, where the atom moves from the consciousness of the atom into a molecule. Once atoms transform themselves into molecules, they take on an even greater knowledge of itself. The next phase of that intelligence that the atom originated itself from is the cell, because the cell is an even greater knowledge of the molecule and the atom. The cell is, I would say, magnified and duplicates upon itself to create what is our tissue, and the tissue is what brings about our organs. And our organs is what bring about the organ system. And within the organ system, we can, through thought amplification, expand the scope of our consciousness to pick up the intelligence of the multitude of galaxies. So now I'm going to show you exactly what I mean within the constructs of the atom. Because if knowledge itself is the greatest knowledge of all, then the basic construct of all knowledge within the material realm is the atom. Now here we have what is an atom. The atom is made up of 3 components. And within those 3 components is what structured life, whether it be an amoeba or a galaxy. The atom consists of what is a proton, a neutron, and an electron. The electron serves as a biorhythmic harmonic. And within that harmonic, it will duplicate itself and create a relationship, an even greater relationship with itself, which brings us into the whole scope of our whole organism. Because that's what happens with the atom. An atom moves from just being an atom, then it, within the knowledge of itself, creates another atom, and then with knowledge of itself again, it keeps reverberating or recapitulating throughout the cosmos. And if you look at the atom, when the proton, neutron, and electron are active, you see that the atom creates a geometric structure. That geometric structure is the basic structure of all living organic matter, the hexagon. The hexagon is the crystallized aspects of the proton and neutron creating the electron. Now, pay attention to the structure because I'm going to show you in actual atoms where this exists. If you can see it, these are the structure of a crystal atom. And within this structure, you see where it hexes. That is the basic crystallization of knowledge manifesting itself from the unseen into the unseen realm of existence. This is a two-dimensional schematic, but if I afforded the opportunity to go into the macabre, I'm going to show you where the morphogenic field that allows you to expand consciousness and have it reverberate throughout the universe and pick up the intelligence from extraterrestrial life forms. This is another aspect of an atom. I don't know exactly which atom this is, but if you can see it, you can see the hexagram. It actually makes the Star of David. The Jews are masters. The reason why the Jews use the Star of David as their symbol because they have mastered the atom. And I'm going to go into detail about that because it's how the atom is being reconfigured, which is distorting your biorhythmic harmonic, which is pushing you into a virtual, digitized universe and taking you from the hypergeometric universe.
Do they have anything to do with food too?
Oh, definitely. I mean, definitely.
If you keep on eating burgers, watch it.
This right here is the atoms of nickel molybdenum. Nickel molybdenum is a mineral that exists within all of our bodies. And if you see the structure of nickel molybdenum, all the white dots are the actual atom. Now, when the atoms join together, it creates a geometrical construct of consciousness. And I'm going to show you how this affects the food how we eat, because what happens is this lattice, this geometrical structure becomes distorted by a biorhythmic harmonic that is resonating dissonance, which is causing chaos in your body. As a result, you're eating devitalized foods, as a result of drinking devitalized beverages. What those things do, send a biorhythmic harmonic of chaos throughout the body, which is called a